Savages, welcome to another episode of Savages Unscripted. Again, we are without Al, but I have no problem with that. But we have a special guest today, and this special guest is a very good friend of mine. He is our intern, our sexy intern. We couldn't find another intern, so we...
You're lucked out with me, huh?
Yeah, but Elias, you want to introduce yourself a little?
Yeah, y'all may know me as Papa Bear. You can see me around Miraloma and Cal State San Bernardino from time to time. I studied chemistry, and I'm here at the studio. Been listening to these guys since they first started, way back when.
One of the first listeners.
Yeah.
And I think you're a good fit right now for Al because he introduced himself as Papa Chulo. Papa Chulo. And now you're the Papa Bear?
I'm the Papa Bear.
You want to explain the Papa Bear thing?
Sure. Where should I begin? If y'all don't know who I am, I'm clearly built as a bear. If you ever see me in person, I'm this tallest dude, pretty big. But there are a few times that Hector and I, with some friends, would go out and try different restaurants. One of these days, we came by and visited Black Bear Diners.
Whew.
My God, they had some good food there.
They have some good ass food. If you have not tried Black Bear Diner, I recommend it.
But, and here's where the story gets a little
interesting. Gets steamy.
The waitress there, she was very friendly with us.
Very friendly.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a single guy. So I keep my eyes out for possible mama bears. And in this case, she just so happened to catch my eye. And so we started joking around at the restaurant, saying, "Oh, Elias, you're a bear. This is the restaurant of my people, if you will." But as I was leaving, I think you mentioned last time, or right before we left, how if that was going to be my new mama bear.
Oh, she's your mama bear, right?
Hell yeah, she's my mama bear.
But, okay, you're missing some important details in the story, though.
Go on.
So when we met, when we came across this mama bear, I think she refilled some water. If I'm correct, she was refilling us a lot of water. We were drinking a lot of water. And she came by and she was like, "Wow, you guys are not thirsty. I can tell you guys are not thirsty." And Elias was, like, "Yeah, we are not thirsty." And they're just going at it. She's walking away and they're still making jokes at each other. It's kind of awkward for the rest of us. But so she's walking away with this, the water jug, and they're still joking around. And I told Elias, "Dude, I think she was hitting on you." And Elias looks at me and he tells me, "I think I was hitting on her." So that was really funny. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Been super busy with work, but I've been good. I've been real good. When I can, I'll just kind of relax, play some video games, catch up. Yeah. I know one of the things that I've been doing is trying to beat Hector at our book competition that we got going on.
Yeah, so I told our listeners a while ago, just a week or two ago, that I moved in with some roommates, and Elias is actually one of those roommates. He is the intern / roommate / Papa Bear. Yeah, so Elias, you've been wanting to read for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have not been doing that.
I have not.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
I know. I'm sorry. At the beginning of the year, I set myself a goal where I was going to read a book every 2 months. I'm not the strongest of readers, but I said myself, "You know what? This is something I've been wanting to do." And I've been keeping strong since then. So far, I was keeping up until June. At that point, I had read 3 books. One of them was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the other one was Ender's Game. Both phenomenal books. I really enjoyed them. But by the time it came to May and June's book, that's when I was reading Jurassic Park. I've been wanting to catch up with this book for the longest. I've had it with me since I was in middle school.
And when did you start reading it?
Back in May.
Back in May. Yeah, and just a few weeks ago, I was reading Dr. Sleep, and Elias walks in from work, pulls his book out, and just starts reading across from me. It was pretty cool. And then he told me that he's been wanting to read more, and I like to challenge people. That's what I do.
That he does.
So I told him, I think this was 2 weeks before September was about to end, right? A week or two. And I told Elias, "Hey, before the end of this month, we both have to finish our book." And something about me and Elias is we love our boba. and we love our Starbucks. What have you been getting from Starbucks, Elias?
All right, so
Tell them.
for years now, I've been a huge fan of pumpkin spice and anything that was pumpkin spice, lattes or frappuccinos. And this year, when they released it, they had this new item. At least I think it's new to me at least. Was this pumpkin spice cold brew. I did try it, but I'm like, you know what? Anything pumpkin spice, I'll give it a shot. And I tried it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I remember I wasn't the one that found it. I believe it was Kyle that showed me it first. Uh-huh. And then from there, you actually were the second one to try it.
Also, it was very recent.
Yeah, it was very recent. Because like I didn't know what the pumpkin spice cold brew was just yet. I saw it several times, but I usually stuck with the Frappuccino. And when I tried it, I'm like, oh, this is probably to date one of the Starbucks' best pumpkin spice drinks ever.
I agree. And for the longest time, Elias has been the one person in the group that's like really into pumpkin spice. Mm-hmm. And in our memes group chat, like anything pumpkin spice related, Elias.
Put it to you this way, like I'll purposely pick up some of the weirder pumpkin spice things. Like waffle sticks, muffins. I know there was a couple of candles that I saw. That I'm like, I legitimately enjoy the smell and taste of pumpkin spice.
What's the weirdest pumpkin spice scented thing or taste, something with the taste that you've experienced, come across?
Taste-wise, nothing's come to mind. But I know the weirdest combination I saw so far is something you've mentioned was the pumpkin spice hot dog.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, to me, that was probably like the worst mixtures you can possibly think of.
Yeah, I was on Facebook, and it was like one of those videos where it shows you like how to make something. And I was like, okay, this looks pretty interesting. And it said pumpkin spice hot dog, and I was like, why would anybody want to make this?
No idea. And I'm a huge fan of pumpkin spice, but I knew damn well that wasn't a good combination there.
And I think I specifically asked you, and I think this is a good question for everybody. If you guys want to tweet this, or let us know, but pumpkin spice hot dog or bacon shake, which would you rather have?
Not to sway any of the voters by any means, but clearly it's the bacon shake.
That sounds gross.
Believe me, I know it sounds gross, but I just think that's the better option compared to the pumpkin spice hot dog. Because it's a hot dog with pumpkin spice.
Yeah, but this is a milkshake with bacon.
True.
Bacon grease. Milk.
True, but you also got to think about this. It's a steamed hot dog stuffed with pumpkin spice cream on a regular white bun and then sprinkled on top with more whipped cream and pumpkin spice to it.
I'm going to repeat myself. Milkshake. Bacon grease. That is, I don't know, I feel nauseous just thinking of that. Yeah, but anyway, for the longest time, Elias has been wanting me to try pumpkin spice. And all these years, all these memes of, white girls loving pumpkin spice, I've never had it. I'm probably the one person in the world that's never had pumpkin spice. And I tried it from that donut place, Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, that was probably the poor choice to start off with.
Yeah, you weren't there. I had the pumpkin spice latte. And I remember drinking it and thinking, like, this is overrated. But then a few days later, we went to Starbucks. And I got the pumpkin spice cold brew. Mm-hmm. And they didn't even make it right. But I liked it. They didn't even put the cream for it. And I didn't even think about it till later. But that drink is really good.
That it is.
You've taken me to the dark side, Elias.
I'm so happy. Yeah, it caught me off guard too, but like I said, I think that's probably the best drink you can get that has pumpkin spice in it.
Mm-hmm. And actually, we didn't finish talking about the challenge. But anyway, so Elias and I, we love that drink, and we love boba. And so I told him, okay, by the end of this month, September, I have to finish this book. You have to finish your book. Mm-hmm. Whoever does not finish it, initially we just said that person's going to buy the other person a drink.
Right.
And then Elias added on to that, and he said if neither of us finish it, we cannot buy any of those drinks for 2 weeks, I believe he said.
Yep,
and Borderlands 3 recently came out. He also said we cannot play that for one whole weekend. Mm-hmm. At the time, I think that was a big deal, but now we barely play.
Yeah. That's a weird turn of phrase.
Yeah, then we kept adding stuff to it, and then we were like, okay, well, what if we both finish our book? Then you said, well, whoever finished it first.
Yeah.
And me and Elias have never read so much in our lives, I think.
No, I know clearly I've never read that much. I went through, 350 pages or so? 250 pages? All within 2 weeks.
And I went through about 400 in about a week.
Like I said, I'm not the strongest of readers, but that was a huge accomplishment for me there.
Yeah, and then I didn't realize how competitive you were until that challenge. Because I would be reading my book, just nice and calm, enjoying my day, enjoying my night, enjoying my book. And Elias would walk in and he'd be like, hey, Hector, I think you want to play Borderlands. Hector, shouldn't you be doing this? Don't you have this to do, Hector? Don't you have work tomorrow, Hector? And then there was that one day. So we're doing this for the boba, or the pumpkin spice drink, it's essentially. Mm-hmm. And Elias walked in one day and he said, hey, Hector, if I buy you one of those drinks right now, you cannot read. And I was like, wait, what?
I got flawless logic, y'all.
Yeah, and I beat you, but you were not far behind.
No, I was not. I think I was just about 51 pages behind.
Not bad.
So I finished off the next day, because I remember clearly how you beat me. It was on a Saturday night. We were sitting in our living room. I just remember hearing you yell out, I'm done with the book. I'm done with the book, y'all. And I looked at you with such frustration. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
He beat me.
Like every 30 minutes, he'd be asking, how many pages you got left? How many pages do you have left? There was a point where you were reading a lot faster than I was, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Uh-huh. What is he doing?
And it's like, I will read everything. It's just, generally when I read, I'll start imagining in my head. And that's what slows me down.
One thing I didn't say, and I will say, is I think I really like the fact that you set that goal for yourself, the reading. Because like you said, that's not something you really do. Something you're not very strong at, but you set that goal for yourself. I think at times we set goals that we know we can do. Goals that we've already done sometimes.
Yeah. By far.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, and I think that's why I have these goals for myself, is I know what my limits are and know what I usually do. So for me to make a challenge saying, make every day where you walk a mile, like, to me, that's nothing. I'm walking every day. But reading a book, that's not something I do every day. That's not something I do every month. Mm-hmm. But it's a challenge that I keep to myself that I want to hold myself accountable for. So I know by the end of this year, I will have to have finished 6 books in that time.
Not bad.
And right now I'm at 3. Where I should be at is start my 5th book and almost be completing it by October.
And you're reading it right now?
And I'm currently reading it. Yeah. Okay. It is my 4th book out of the 6. And I just started last week.
So this is your 4th book and you just started. So basically you have 3 to read for the rest of this year. Mm-hmm. You think you can do it?
I'm fairly sure.
We got to do another challenge.
Oh, God, not another challenge.
And that's another thing. So we were still undecided of what drink we were going to get. And I hadn't tried Roasting Waters.
Phenomenal place.
Yeah. Over in Riverside. And Elias told me, all right, we're going to get this, whoever wins. And so I beat Elias. And the one thing he told me, I think right when I won is, let's go tomorrow.
Let's go tomorrow, yeah.
And I was like, we don't have to go tomorrow. We can go next week. And he's like, no, Hector, I hate owing people. We're going tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like doing ever. If I know I owe you something, chances are you'll either get it that same day, the following day, or for surely the second day. Mm-hmm. And whatever the reasons may be, I will pay you back in those 2 days.
And I clearly remember that was my minimum day. I was going into work early. My first thought was, once you work early, and I gotta wake up even earlier because of my damn prize. Why did I win?
Sorry, man, you could have just stopped reading. I would have gotten your thing and just pushed it off until the following weekend.
Yeah, I could have. I think I am competitive. I think it's based on who I'm in the competition with. Because if that person's not very competitive, I won't really care. With you and Angel, I get too competitive.
Yeah, well, I think I stemmed it from Angel a lot. We would do a bunch of small little competitions back when Angel and I used to live together.
That guy's an instigator.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I remember once we had a cereal eating competition.
Did you all really?
Yeah, and there might have been alcohol involved.
Might have.
So
it's back at the dorm.
Because I don't remember the challenge, but there's a video of it. And I believe I was eating cereal with a spork or a fork. And I was like, why is the milk falling? And I couldn't stop laughing at the idea of the fact that just what we were doing. And yeah, there's a video of it somewhere. I'm going to have to ask for it. I'm not going to link it on here. The viewers don't need to see that.
Do you have any other regrettable videos that you wish it was never shot?
Not regrettable videos. I have there's this photo, and I think it was the first time I ever really drank. And I don't remember the night, but I guess I had a good night. I was with Edward and Stephanie, and the photo is literally just of me under Stephanie's bed, but like half my body is under the bed. Yeah, and it looks like a crime scene. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they were putting that around on Instagram, so that was fun.
I know how I have a few embarrassing videos myself. I remember one clearly that I still can't believe I did, but back in freshman year, when I was just getting to know everybody, and Hector included, there was a time, I don't remember why I did it. I just remember, I think someone tried daring me into twerking. And so I got on my hands up against the wall and started twerking that way.
No way.
Yeah. And I know one of our friends has that video. She has since lost the video, or she can't find it. But I know she's recorded it.
I was going to start doing my research to find that video.
It's a trip. You'll be surprised at how agile this big guy can be. Or Papa Bear can be.
Yeah, and again, Elias is our lovely, lovely intern. Al is gone for now. But you know what? I didn't really... There wasn't really a vetting process on getting you on here. I just realized that. So I think we should have a little bit of an interview right now, all right? Let's see if you can fit that place of Al.
I don't think anybody can fit the place of Papi Chulo.
Papi Chulo. All right, so first question. What is your name?
My name is Elias Joshua Neri. You can just call me Elias, or Eli for short.
Most people get that question wrong, so I'm glad you can answer that one on your own, Elias.
I think I'm confident enough to remember my own name.
Who are the two members of Savages Unscripted?
There's Papi Chulo, everyone's favorite, fan favorite, in fact. But the other one, he's blanking on me. I can't quite remember his name.
Yeah, who's that one guy?
I have no idea. I think it starts with an H. Javier, I think.
Javier. Yeah. Javier. The guy with the voice.
The guy with the voice. That smooth voice.
And I've been telling, actually, a little tangent, but I've been telling for a while, you got to start a podcast. You have some ideas too.
Yes, you have. I have had a few ideas. It's not necessarily a podcast, but I was thinking of maybe a YouTube video.
Okay.
So I know some of those ideas are central with video games. Mm-hmm. One of my huge inspirations for that was this YouTube channel called Gaming Historian, where they'll go in depth with various video game topics and explain how it came to be. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites was the story of Tetris and how that came to be.
How did it come to be?
So, it all started with a Russian programmer back when Russia was considered the USSR. Mm-hmm. And I don't clearly remember his name, just because it's Russian and memorized it. But as he started project on this, it was at his government job. He had some downtime because he usually worked at nights. And for a little, stress relief, he would program this game. And it was a very simple game where 5 random blocks would fall from the top of the screen. And your whole goal was to clear them out as they landed. Mm-hmm. And from there, it got more popular at the workplace to the point where it started spreading all throughout USSR. And then at that point, some arcade manufacturers here in the States reached out to him and asked if they can attain some licensing to have arcades built so that would be accessible here. And from there, this one guy who really cowed everything together did it in the shadiest way possible. Mm. Where he defined arcades as a computer, of which the Russian government assumed it was the standard monitor and keyboard computer, not a computer that we would find in an arcade machine. And from that one licensing, extend off to multiple factions where different groups would have the handheld licensing, the PC marketing, and the arcade licensing, where the Russian government really, or the USSR government really didn't know what was going on until one day Nintendo decided they wanted a piece of the action. They saw how popular Tetris was. This was right before they were going to release the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, back in 1985, I believe, 1990. And there he wanted to speak with the developer. So he went over to Russia. At that same time, the original owner of the license that had the arcade rights, that defined it as a computer, went back to renegotiate his deal to include arcade and video game rights. And then there was a third person. This third person actually was from Tengen, who was not necessarily rivaling, but Tengen had some issues with Nintendo, and they wanted to smooth things over so that way they can get the handheld rights. And so they all three went over there and spoke with the government building that had the rights for it. And the one from Nintendo, he spoke frankly and honestly to the officials. And the original programmer for Tetris actually liked him. And so because both the programmer liked him and he spoke earnestly about it, the Russian government was like, okay, you tell us exactly what you want and how this gets broken down, and we'll see. They couldn't quite reach an agreement at that moment because they still had the two other investors or those trying to claim the rights. But they knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And since then, the original owner of that license had lost those rights and could no longer sell any arcade/computer versions of Tetris. The one that Tengen was producing and that was going to launch had to be recalled. And that's how we got the Tetris on the Game Boy by Nintendo.
Gosh. Yeah, it's something I think you and I have talked about quite a bit is just, especially when you think of Tetris. Yeah. I think everybody knows what Tetris is. The theme music and the game itself, but just how much video games have developed since then. Oh, yeah. And the evolution of video games is so crazy. When you think of Borderlands, which we just acquired recently. Yeah. And Tetris back then, like...
It's night and day at how different everything is. I remember reading books on the evolution of video games. How the original started back in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And it was like a very old school version of Pong. Because really that's all they can do. Yeah. Back then, you would control both the ball and the paddles. It was very archaic, I guess.
Yeah, archaic.
But it proved popular enough where people wanted to invest more and get creative with video games. And so from there, it slowly advanced to arcade machine, where you'd get Pac-Man and the original Mario Brothers, and it kept developing from there to where we got home consoles. Mm-hmm. Because people couldn't always go to the arcades, they wanted something at home. And that's when the Atari came out. Atari 2600. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I think most people will know, it progressed from Atari 2600 to the Atari 5200. Back on the Atari 2600, it had 8 bits, meaning it could only show so much on the screen at any given time. Color was barely a part of that. And then slowly progressed to the 5200 to the... And I remember them based off of bits. We went from the 18 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, the 64-bit era was the Nintendo 64. That's the era that I remember it. And then from there, from the Nintendo 64 was the 6th generation. PS1, 6th generation. Original Xbox was 6th generation. We then move on to the GameCube, PS2, and 3... No, still the original Xbox at that point, which was the 7th generation. The Wii, Xbox 360, and PS3 was the 7th generation? 8th generation. And then we're currently on the 9th generation with PS4, the Switch / Wii U, and Xbox One.
And the new generation of consoles are just around the corner. Mm-hmm. They've already announced that there hasn't been much info, but...
Yeah. I'm excited for the PS5, but I'm hoping that everyone has this trend of backwards compatibility where you'll be able to play even back from the PS1 era to cross-platform play with majority of these titles.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it is too soon for the next generation consoles? Because I still think like the Xbox One still feels really new to me, especially with the Xbox One X.
Partly, yes. And that's just because I haven't had my PS4 for that long. But in all fairness, the PS4 came out back in 2013.
2013. Yeah, my freshman year of college.
Yeah. So, thinking of it in a time lapse, it's been 6 to 7 years. Most generations last about that long. Mm-hmm. So to me, it makes perfect sense to move on with the next generation. That being said, I wish it kind of held on to this one just a bit more because I really do like the PS4, even though it has its issues. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I would be excited for it. I'll probably stick with the PS5 though.
Something else I was going to bring up is, because I have a few friends that are still on the rivalry, the whole Xbox PlayStation thing. And a lot of times you'll hear, especially Xbox, to get a lot of hate on Xbox. It's hilarious because I love Xbox. Those things don't faze me. But I think you're one of the few people, just like me, that has a Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation.
That's right. That I do.
What comes to mind when you hear those people that are just hating on another console?
To be honest, it's going to sound typical, but honestly, I think they're just like high schoolers not knowing that you can have all three and not worry about such things. Mm-hmm. Xbox is, for the most part, very media friendly, where if, let's say I want to watch YouTube and then switch over to some sports channel like ESPN, that's super easy with it. Mm-hmm. PlayStation is trying to get there, but it's not there just yet. But yeah, like each system is strong on certain areas. Xbox, both media and cross-platform itself. Switch, very family-friendly oriented games. But that being said, it's not like the quality of these games has diminished. They're fantastic games. Mm-hmm. They're just lighthearted. And then PlayStation itself has many of the exclusives, many single-player games. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something I just always tell people is just, like when they ask me, oh, should I get an Xbox, PlayStation, or Switch? Well, what are your friends playing? Yeah. That's the first thing, like, do you want to play with your friends? If that doesn't really matter, then it gets a little tougher to help right there. But really, most people want to play with their friends.
Yeah, I'd say so. Shoot, the only reason why I got Borderlands 3 on PC is because I thought it was going to have a cross-platform or cross-play with the Xbox. Turns out it wasn't at launch, but...
Yeah, not yet.
That's my main reason why I bought it. That's because I knew one day I'll be able to play with everyone. Uh-huh. Turns out, though, from what I just heard, that recent rumors show that the PlayStation 5 is going to have cross-platform.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a big step for PlayStation.
That it is.
Because that's one of the things people have been saying a lot about PlayStation, that they don't allow that cross-platform.
For the most part, it was only limited to 2 games, which was Fortnite and Rocket League.
Fortnite, I've heard of it before. Mm-hmm. Elias, I know you've heard of it.
I have. So, it's one of my gaming embarrassments, if you will, where I know Fortnite has a bad reputation in public's eye, but I rather enjoy the game.
If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. But it's funny because actually, I didn't see you playing Fortnite until just this past week. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys used to play it all the time. You, Julio, Carlos, the rest of our group. Mm-hmm. I remember you guys would always post about Fortnite. And so I haven't seen Elias playing Fortnite. And the other day, I think I walked in from work, or I walked out of the restroom. And Elias is like, Hector, don't judge me. Don't judge me. Walk away. And I believe you even told me I'm watching porn, walk away. And
I happily admit to watching porn on my big screen television rather than playing Fortnite before.
Yeah, and what he told me was what he was doing was worse than porn. And I walk in and he's playing Fortnite. He's like loading up the game. And I remember thinking that too. Like, yeah, Elias, this is worse than porn. But as long as you're not doing those Fortnite dances, I respect you.
That I still won't do. I have some dignity. Not too much, but there's some.
If you work with kids or you're around kids, that will make you hate Fortnite. Let me just say that.
Believe me, I know the stigmatism that the kids carry.
Oh my gosh.
I have a couple of nieces and nephews that they don't play Fortnite themselves, but I see them doing the dances. And they all get crazy about it. And so I'm like, oh, that's nice, because obviously they're having fun. But I'm just like, wow, I don't want to do this.
You see a pack of 20 kids doing that one floss dance or whatever. Then I know there's been memes about this too, but where they'll take like they'll add new dances.
Yeah.
But, you know, these dances come from somewhere. These are legit dances. But then all these people associate it with Fortnite. And they think it's from Fortnite. I thought that's pretty interesting.
Some notable cases were the floss.
Mm-hmm.
There's one Orange Hero or Orange Supreme, something like that. But it's like, and the Carlton.
Yes.
Where it's still pending, but clearly Fortnite has inspired by these notable and famous dances.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not giving credit to the dancers. I have some thoughts on it. If you want to take it there for a bit.
Go ahead.
I don't think that's an issue for Fortnite to kind of use these dances. But it's also messed up of them for them to acknowledge as though it's their own thing.
Yeah.
Clearly it's heavily inspired by these dancers. So that being said, Fortnite should have been like, hey, yeah, this was inspired by this or that. And then say like, oh, we're just going to give them a care package. Showing like, hey, yes, we are doing it from... Well, we got inspired because it came from this dance group or from this dancer, but they can still get away with, oh yeah, this is not their dance, so technically we don't know them anything. What I did find ridiculous was the Floss kid claiming he was the one that originated the dance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about this.
He said when the whole lawsuit started coming in from Fortnite saying that their dances were being stolen and that they were claiming copyright or they're trying to copy it. One of the more notable cases was from the Floss kid, saying how it was his dance and how he came up with it.
Oh my god.
But what he doesn't understand was that dance has been a while. Granted, not many people did the dance back in the day, but it was a thing long before he came up. And I think the first known case was back in 2003 or 2005. On an old recording that was like in this high school setting. But there you could see one of the kids just dancing like the Floss, or did the Floss dance. Back then it just didn't have a name.
Did you hear the story of Supreme? You know Supreme, right? The brand. Did you hear about when they acquired their name and their logo?
I did not.
So the details are a little off, but they got it from some artwork from an artist. Okay. That Supreme logo, and so they took that, and eventually they wanted to sue her.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
They were making it their own thing, and they wanted to sue her, and they were like taking her to court.
Career.
Yes, like this is her thing. And I just think that's bizarre. And you know about Supreme, right? They just slap their name on something and suddenly it's really expensive. I know they were selling a brick with the Supreme logo.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they have like random stuff, but their business model is really interesting. They'll sell only like a couple hundred or something, but they just really mark up those prices and suddenly everybody wants it. That's crazy.
I mean, business-wise, I guess that makes a lot of sense. But I know that's Papi Chulo's territory there.
What will be the randomest thing to slap a Supreme logo on?
Probably lettuce. That would be some disposable food item.
A pumpkin spice hot dog?
That would be the weirdest thing, actually.
That'd be gross and expensive.
No. The bacon milkshake.
Oh my gosh.
That would be the weirdest.
How about like a pack of condoms?
No, because I think that would kind of suit their audience. That would make sense for Supreme. But it doesn't make sense for them to like have a special food item. Because for the most part, Supreme is more materialistic. So you kind of associate with disposable items.
Like bricks?
Like bricks.
They also have Supreme Band-Aids. I had a kid that had Supreme Band-Aids, and I'm like, okay, well, these are expensive, so are you really going to use this if you have a cut or scratch or something? No, I'm pretty sure you're just going to hold on to it and just show people that you have it. That's really interesting.
Speaking of Band-Aids, on a nice little
go ahead.
Side note.
This is Savages Unscripted, Lies. Take it anywhere. Take us away.
I've known Hector for a while.
Oh, boy.
But with those that I live with, I have a first aid kit in my restroom. And there, whenever we get a new roommate, I would usually buy them a pack of Band-Aids. And that would be their Band-Aids to use should anything happen here at their apartments. I remember when Julio came by, his Band-Aids were the Jurassic Park ones. Those are his Band-Aids.
Wait, do I have Band-Aids already?
You do.
What kind do I have?
I believe I gave you the Star one. No, I got Pokemon for you.
Oh.
I just have them in the car still, but I got you Pokemon Band-Aids.
I'm so glad you didn't get like Hello Kitty or something, because that's something you would do. Like, to fuck around with me.
I do plan on
You thought of it, huh?
I thought about it.
Yeah,
I haven't picked them up yet.
me and Elias, our relationship is where... Actually, Robin just brought this to our attention, our other roommate, this morning, because we can like praise each other, motivate each other.
But we're easily tear each other down.
And then we just easily in a second tear each other down, calling each other little bitches and...
in my case, nerd.
but we're friends. We mean it with love. It's terms of endearment. But I didn't know about these Band-Aids. And you mentioned the Band-Aids to me. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about the Pokemon ones though.
Yeah, I have Pokemon ones. Those I keep in the car just because when I picked them up, I was with my family at the time. Mm-hmm. And a cute story that came out of it was, I remember my niece, she found the Band-Aids and she goes to me, she goes, Uncle Josh, can I put one of these on? I'm like, did you get hurt, Mommy? Like, what happened? And she goes, oh, no, I didn't get hurt. I just want to wear one. I like Pokemon. Wow. And I go, why do you like Pokemon? Oh, because of Uncle Obito and you showed me them. Yeah, I felt like a little proud moment there. I'm like, oh, of course I showed you this. Go for it. And I remember she put it right here on her cheek, on the left side.
Dude, I'm going to start doing that too.
You're just going to come up to me and call me Uncle Josh.
I wasn't talking about all that whole story. Just the Band-Aid on the cheek.
All right. So I guess here comes the next question for the listeners. Just sticking... No, what? We'll broaden it. If you were to choose your starter, what would it be? What would
this is like the Dora the Explorer, where you guys can answer it right now. Pause it.
Yeah. By means, scream at your television or your phone.
Scream at us. Tweet it.
Believe us. We'll hear you. Just keep screaming.
Who will be your starter, Elias? Out of all these starters, if Pokemon were real, you could choose one starter.
I think I've told you this before, but I have been playing Pokemon since Gold came out. Uh-huh. And my favorite Pokemon that I've always played was Cyndaquil.
Cyndaquil? Oh, yeah, you're a huge Cyndaquil fan. You have a plush.
Yep. I have a little plush of Cyndaquil.
5 feet away from you.
Yep. And anytime I relax here in the living room, I'll kind of have Cyndaquil either on my shoulder or my head or my chest. However, I'm relaxing. Yeah, I really like Cyndaquil. It's a little mouse Pokemon. But then it evolves into this huge beast that explodes.
Literally. Yeah. Typhlosion.
Literally. What about you, Hector? What would be your starter Pokemon? I think I know what it is.
Can you go guess? I'm pretty sure
it's a Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur all the way, man.
Yeah, the huge underdog from the original generation.
And it's not... I remember I told a friend once that, Bulbasaur would be my go-to. And everyone tells me, oh, you're a hipster. You're just trying to be different. I'm like, no, I genuinely love Bulbasaur. I do. I have a plush of Bulbasaur.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I like his version of the Bulbasaur because it's the Ditto version.
Yeah, there's that. For the listeners that don't watch Pokemon or don't play Pokemon, which, come on, why don't you? But there was an episode where this Pokemon named Ditto, and he essentially transforms into other Pokemon. But in this episode, this specific Ditto cannot change his eyes. And his eyes are just like 2 dots.
2 little dots.
2 little dots. And so he would become like a Pikachu or a Machoke. I think there was a Machoke in that one, too. Yeah. And he'd be this buff Machoke with the 2 little dots for the eyes. And so they started making plushes of all these, and I have the Bulbasaur version. So it's a Bulbasaur with the Ditto eyes. And they have a lot of other ones. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a Cyndaquil one too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it would work very well for Cyndaquil.
True, with his eyes already.
Yeah. But the one I would probably pick up is the Haunter version.
Oh, the Haunter one was cool.
That one I'd probably pick up.
Yeah.
Because Haunter's the second Pokemon that I really like.
A Haunter?
Specifically Haunter, not Gengar, Haunter. And
we recently talked about both of us wanting that big Snorlax plush.
Yes. By all means, yes.
And it has to be like, well, not life size, of course, but like as big as a little bed at least.
Yeah, like for the longest, I wanted to pick up the Snorlax beanbag.
I didn't even know they had beanbags. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds really cool.
Just a little sit down, but yeah, Snorlax, he reminds me of myself quite a bit.
I wonder why.
Of course.
Yeah, if any listeners, if you're an older woman, early 30s, maybe is that the cutoff?
Yeah, let's say early 30s.
It's like in roller coasters when they say like must be this tall. for Elias must be this seasoned. No, that was funny because when I told Robin, I was like, because they noticed the little banter with you and the waitress, and I was like, oh yeah, Elias thought she was pretty cute, and Robin's like, the pregnant girl, and I was like, no, not the other one, and she was like, the old one. That was funny.
What can I say? I'm an old soul at heart.
I mean, age really is just a number.
Yeah, I mean, I think
as long as it's legal.
Yeah, as long as it's legal, by every means. But I think my age gap for older women would be about 10 years. 10 years. 10, 15 years.
So probably for now for you would be mid-30s.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the oldest I'd get. Youngest would probably be like 2-3 years. That's 2-3 years. I'm still fairly young myself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're still 23, so yeah.
Yeah. Technically, even though I'm the biggest in the group, I'm also the youngest in the group.
Yes, that's interesting because there's times where I forget I'm older than you, and I always think I'm younger than you. Because another thing about Elias too is I'm an old soul. This man is an older soul. We joke around and we say like I can picture him with a rocking chair, a newspaper, and just chilling on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I want it so much.
Yeah, this man wears. I think Blackbird Diner. I wouldn't doubt you had flip-flops. Did you have your Hawaiian t-shirt?
No, not at that time.
You didn't wear it?
I should have, but I didn't.
And Costco. We haven't mentioned Costco. We have not mentioned Costco. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, because I just moved in with my roommates. I don't have a Costco card, but they do. And so we've been trying to get to add me on. And we were shopping.
On one of our failed trips to get him on, we were shopping.
There was like 2 failed trips already, but we were shopping, and I told him, and I was being honest, and I said, you know what, Elias, I can picture you at Costco doing your grocery shopping, and you meet an older woman here. Not even a single mother, but just an older woman. Mm-hmm. And you laughed. And from that point is when you started noticing the older woman more and telling me about it. And there was that Costco girl, that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, so by no means did I have any intentions on flirting with this woman, or even like having a longer conversation than the usual small talk.
I'm disappointed.
But I'll have moments where I just become incredibly flirtatious for no reason, and it'll be at the weirdest times. I'm like, all right, I just kind of roll with it. But specifically on this Costco trip, I had to do some changes to the bathroom where I needed to pick up some baskets for underneath the sink. And it was supposed to help us get organized. Well, I picked up a stack of 4 baskets that I thought this would be perfect. They're all in different sizes. It's going to help out with the bathroom tremendously because we need to organize it. Have one for, toiletries, the others for cleaning products, etc. And as we were approaching the register, I noticed, oh wait, these are sold individually. Like I wasn't going to buy 4 $20 baskets. But I did remember there was a basket set right next to it, which was for $30. And those I knew were different sizes, and it came in a box.
Oh, that's a steal.
So I asked Hector to run back to drop these off, but to get me the other box. And we had just reached the register. He's like, yeah, sure, no problems. Throughout this time, I started chatting up with...
It was like 1 minute.
Yeah, literally no more than a minute. But I started chatting up with the register girl. And it was small talk. I'm like, oh, hey, how was you doing? How's your day? And then we somehow got to apartment living. Because I guess she was trying to find somewhere to live. And she asked me, where is it that you live? And at that point, I told her, oh yeah, I live here at the View. It's by Cal State San Bernardino. And she goes, oh, cool. And this was the time that Hector arrived. So he didn't catch the first half of this conversation. So he kind of just assumed I was flirting with this woman. And at the time, like, oh, no, that was not supposed to happen. But I could tell that it was.
Yeah, I come back and you're talking about living situations and, there might be availability left if you want to check. And then I remember we were walking out and I thought she was a little cute. And I told you, like, dude, you guys were hitting it off. You guys were talking. Almost, you're about to ask her to move in. And I asked Elias, did you get her number? And he stops and he's like, fuck, I forgot. And it's Costco. We're not going to walk all the way back into Costco and check back in, show him our card, and go all the way to the cashier again. It's packed. It's a Sunday. I told him, like, dude, you guys were talking about, this living situation, the apartment. You could have just told her, like, hey, here's my number if you have more questions. And Elias forgot. And from that point forward, we just call her the Costco girl.
From that point on.
We both forgot what she looked like, but we both know she was cute. But Mama Bear, she's won your heart over.
For now, she has, yes.
For now. Until the next diner trip.
Until the next Mama Bear.
A little transition. You and I talked about this the other day, but there was a post where basically McDonald's, there was one day, I think it might have been in a different country, where all their profit from, I'm not sure if it was specifically the Big Mac, was going for some sort of cancer treatment. It was going for research or something like that. And Burger King put out an ad saying that for one day, they were going to not sell their Big Whopper or the Whopper. And they were going to encourage people to go to McDonald's to buy the Big Mac. And the one thing I asked you, and I want to ask listeners this too, is does anybody willingly go to Burger King? I have never met anybody that has craved Burger King.
I know I've been there a few times myself, and I know I talked about this with you last time. I've been there a few times myself. Mm-hmm. But it was mainly because I had coupons and I wanted something really cheap.
Yeah.
That, and for the most part, the chicken fries are alright still. At least here on the west coast of the United States. But yeah, nobody else that I know of really visits Burger King, if at all.
I wonder if that's a SoCal thing.
It might be that.
Because, they're still around. But here, where we are, we rarely see any, actually. Mm-hmm. We have this one in San Bernardino. I couldn't tell you where the next closest one would be.
No idea either. And I think what it is because SoCal has so many other restaurants that people crave more, that Burger King kind of realized, clearly this is not our demographic here. Mm-hmm. So they either moved it up north or over to the eastern side. And
I don't know if it's just our specific circle of friends, but not many people have been eating fast food lately here, from what I've noticed.
I think I'm really the more active of fast food eaters, but even then so.
Yeah.
It's like maybe once a week or so.
Yeah, for me it's just, after a certain point in the day, that's the only thing that's open.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, McDonald's, and all that stuff. And that kind of sucks. Everything else, the things you want, it's like, it's 10 o'clock. We can't get any of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one area, or that's the one thing that I dislike about our area, is that everything that you would possibly find good or decent closes by 8. And so all that's left are a bunch of these fast food chains where it's like, you clearly don't want this, but you don't want to travel far for something better.
Yeah, but then what's funny about this post by Burger King is they're basically saying, hey, for one day only, we're going to restrict the selling of our burger, our Whopper, so McDonald's can make more money, which is cool. The sentiment is really nice, I think. But we joked around about
what kind of impact it was going to have.
That's kind of a cocky thing to say too. It sounds like they're saying like, hey, if we stop selling for a day, we're going to lose a lot of profit, but it's okay. But then this begets the question, who goes to Burger King? But they put out some stats on it, and they were saying that I believe from this year to last year, on this day, McDonald's sold about at least 100,000 more Big Macs.
Really?
Yeah, they sold a lot more. I'm going to have to find this page and I'll link it. But again, the sentiment is nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's good for companies to realize, if it's for a charitable cause, that they acknowledge it in some way. They don't always have to stop selling stuff, but it's just good of them to say like, hey, check out our competition. They're doing something for charity.
Exactly.
That being said, of competitions and fast food, I figured it'd be a good time to bring up that Wendy's has that RPG tabletop game.
Yes. So a friend of mine just sent me a link, and he's an avid listener of the podcast, and he told me like, hey, you should really talk about this in the podcast. And basically, Wendy's made a tabletop RPG. So if you guys have heard of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and just really that genre of board game, and they made their own, and you can battle Ronald McDonald.
Stemming back earlier, we won't bring each other up, but we'll quickly knock each other down.
No, exactly. And what's funny about this is, it says here, announced via a tweet, the 100-page rulebook for Feast of Legends, a Wendy's-themed fantasy tabletop RPG in the vein of Dungeons and Dragons, is free to download and surprisingly not completely terrible.
Is it?
And it sounds really elaborate. It sounds like they've really put some time into this. And I remember when the Popeyes and Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich battle was going on, Wendy's was there for a day. I think Wendy's was in the talks for a day.
Yes.
Because they brought back their spicy chicken.
Exactly.
And then they just disappeared after that day. But then you hear the news of this board game.
It got us to thinking, what has Wendy's been doing where they've been focusing all their efforts on this one board game or this one tabletop game, but not expanding their menu?
Let's not put our focus on making our food better. Let's make a board game.
No, not only that. Let's make a board game and let's keep up with this Twitter rant that we got going on at Wendy's. Because I think by this point, most people that use Twitter knows how savage Wendy's can be.
And that's their legit page, right?
Mm-hmm. That's their legitimate official business page.
Oh my god, that is awesome. But a 100-page rule book, that's elaborate.
That's extensively elaborate.
That is really detailed. I kind of want to check this out, actually.
Same here.
We're going to have to try it out and talk about it in the next podcast. We are going to have to do that. But that's really interesting.
Stay tuned. We'll be starting up a Dungeons and Dragon themed podcast.
Have you ever played D&D?
No, I've been wanting to for the longest.
Wow. I played it once. I didn't get too much into it, but it's really fun.
That's what I hear. And that's the one thing I've been wanting to do for the longest. It's one of the few things I've yet to do in terms of gaming experience. And I do include tabletop games as a gaming experience.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, it's not electronic or visual as much as, let's say, Xbox or PlayStation. But you're still invested as much, if not more, into these games than you say would.
Yeah, that's just
PlayStation game.
That's definitely one of those games where it really depends on the people you're with.
Exactly.
Because it needs a lot of imagination and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I played once with some friends. We went to this church we used to go to. They had a Memorial Day event. They were at a park, like a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse, he brings out his D&D and he's like, let's play. And it's like a church event and it's a picnic. People are walking by, people we haven't seen in a long time. And he whips out his D&D stuff. It's really funny. But we were playing. It was really cool. You name your character and stuff and you decide like their personality. And you just add this voice to this character. And if your friends do it, it's really fun. And I just realized how nerdy this sounds.
What a nerd!
Oh my gosh. So what's funny is Elias is a huge nerd.
Yes, I am.
But somehow
Proud of it.
he's been making fun of me and calling me a nerd.
Yeah, so I'll generally, most of my jokes will always be contradicting to what I actually am.
It's really ironic.
Yeah. So whenever I make someone or fun of someone that's being a nerd, generally because I'm a nerd. So this entire week, that's what I've been hosting Hector with. Even on some of his more heartfelt and kinder posts, I'll just comment, "What a nerd!"
Yeah, like those of you that follow my Instagram, I'll be putting just sometimes some savage things, some music, but every now and then I'll put like some motivational stuff. And Elias commented on one of it, and he said, "What a nerd!" I was like, "That's my roommate." I was at work, and all I saw was "What a nerd." I was like, "I don't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna have to check this out later."
That explains the delay on that one. Because where I work, I have opportunities where I can check my phone for 10 minutes or so.
Oh, okay.
But I saw that I was scrolling through in one of my breaks. And in my head, I thought it would be hilarious. Just be like, "Hey, what a nerd."
And that's the funny thing, because if you do anything like that, or you send me anything like that, I can see it, but that's it, because I'm working with kids.
Yeah.
So I have to be really aware. So the times where I'll check the phone and I'll just very quick check a text, I'll see that, but I cannot get back to you. So I cannot defend myself. I don't know what's going on. So if any of my friends text me until like 6 p.m., I will not get back. I can see what you're saying. I will not understand contextually what's going on, but I can see it.
That gives me some ideas.
Oh, man. You're going to be sending me random stuff.
Yeah, and at the end, it'll be like, you have to respond before 6, before you owe me something.
How does it feel, Elias, living with a podcaster?
It feels like I'm living with someone that you might find in a insane asylum.
Oh.
Because think about it.
That's what my mom told me to.
You'll be doing your business, and out of nowhere, you just hear someone talking. And you expect, oh, they must be talking with someone. You go by, and in my case, I'd go check on you, Hector, and see what you're up to. And I see you're just working on your podcast. And so I kind of stand there and chuckle myself and think, oh my God, this man is insane. He's talking to himself.
That's what I do. And it's funny because I think I told you guys about this. I told a few friends about this, but I have to get used to the fact that now, of course, the things I say are out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about in terms of sensitivity. I'm talking just in terms of now people are coming to me and quoting me. And I'm not used to that. Like my friends will text me or they'll talk to me and they'll just bring it up like it's an inside joke. And they'll just quote me and I'm so confused. Like, how do you know this? Oh man, I talked about it. I have to get used to that. And the other day when you guys were listening to our episode when I was in the shower.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
okay,
my
yes.
gosh.
Jogged my memory there. So, this was around the time that I was still actively listening. And that's when I noticed.
Wait, still actively listening?
Yeah, sorry. Poor choice of words there.
Oh.
Still listening, just. I know our other two roommates, Robin and Kyle, hadn't yet listened to you. Or at least listened to the podcast. And I was telling them, like, yeah, like I enjoy the podcast. It's very nice. It's very interesting. And they're like, all right, why don't you put one on?
Oh, boy.
And so I'm like,
and you
all
put
right.
that one on.
I put on
Pornhub Cleans Up.
Pornhub Cleans Up. Because that's the one that my roommates really wanted to hear. And this was right before Hector had jumped in the shower. So I played it in my room, on my television. That so happens to be right next to the shower.
Mm-hmm. Cranked up the volume
so that would be heard all the way, not just to the living room, but outside as well. And we just sat there and listened to his podcast.
Yeah, and the thing, too, that you guys have to know about our roommate Kyle is this man can hear a joke and he will not let it down ever. And so when I got out of the shower, I just heard Kyle laughing, cracking up. You guys were laughing, but this guy was on a whole different level. It's like he's heard his first joke ever.
Yeah, like that's something everyone needs to keep in mind. Is this man has a very contagious laugh, to say the least.
Incredibly contagious.
He might hear something, and to either of us, we might not think it's funny, but to him, if he thinks it's funny, believe us, you'll know when this man thinks it's funny, because he will just start cracking up.
No subtlety.
No subtlety whatsoever, and it could be heard from half a mile away. And he'll just keep repeating the joke and cracking up to himself.
I remember when we saw Aladdin, and he was laughing so much, and then people in the audience in the theater were laughing at his laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And like the movie wasn't even that funny, but Kyle thought it was funny, and everyone was laughing because of his laugh. But anyway, back on the story, I got out of the shower, and I heard Kyle like dying of laughter. And then I heard the part in the podcast where you guys were. And in this episode in particular, Pornhub Cleans Up, in the latter half of the episode, we were talking about college and the idea that you don't have to go to college. There's other options. And in the episode, I specifically say, because I am trying to be a professor. And I said, those of you that are considering going to college or planning on it, wait a few years when I become a professor and come take a ride in Professor Hector's classroom of experience and composition. And I meant it very like philosophically and professionally and profoundly, taking like a roller coaster. But
our roommate Kyle would generally take it to the dirtiest extent possible.
Any little thing becomes incredibly dirty. And all he took was come take a ride on Professor Hector. He heard that. But every time I see him, he's like, come take a ride on Professor. Oh my gosh. And it gets even better. I'm not sure if you know about this, because I found out about this the day we went to Red Robin when our friend Edward came down. Yeah. Red Robin.
Yum.
So he was telling me that he was telling coworkers and friends about the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, and he was sharing it. And again, he was like, oh yeah, these girls, like, they love your voice actor. They love the podcast. They really enjoy it. And I'm specifically showing them that episode. And he mentions that again, like, come take a ride. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since that episode. But now Kyle says it. His girlfriend Robin says it. Occasionally you'll laugh about it. Mm-hmm. But that's become a thing. And I don't think that's ever going to go away.
No. I do believe you set yourself up Well, we all have our own things that
Oh boy.
is never going to get let down. But Hector, you finally have your own thing there.
Yeah, Elias has his pumpkin spice and a few other things. All of us do. Those jokes. We make fun of Colin Robin all the time. We're instigating for her to beat his ass. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Mind you, this is still all in good fun. By no means I actually expect her to kick his ass, but it's still in good fun.
Yeah, that's another funny thing. Like, if anyone were to sit in our living room and hear the way we talk, observe us, they would think we hate each other. Mm-hmm. The way we talk to each other and yell at each other and debate. When we debate, we raise our voice just to get the point across, but there is, like, no ill harm. Mm-hmm. That's really funny.
No. And it's like, living with them for now 4 going on 5 years, it's like, you know when they do get upset with something.
Yeah.
You can tell that sense. But majority of the time it is meant in good fun. Of course, we have our limits and our extremes, but I say a good 90% of the time it's good fun.
Do you think living with roommates, with other people, and even in different fields has taught you different things?
In different fields?
Because, we all have different majors, different things that we're studying. Okay. But just living with completely different people, do you think that's taught you anything?
Oh, yeah, for sure it has. I knew from some of my bad roommates what it meant to be a roommate and how one should act when they're a roommate. For the most part, I learned that even if it's not necessarily your mess, you should, for the most part, still clean up after it. Because even though it's not your mess, it's still in your house or in your living room.
We've referenced that roommate before.
Yes, we have. And even though I may not like this roommate or have any friendliness, I don't mean him any harm. Mm-hmm. Just I don't see him as a friend anymore. Yeah. But I know other of us have different experiences with him.
And that's the tricky thing too. You really don't know somebody until you live with them.
Exactly.
Someone can be a really good friend, but just a really shitty roommate.
That is something I've noticed. To this day, I think one of my best roommates, and by no means am I trying to call out all my previous roommates.
I've only been here a month.
But
thank you, Elias. I am honored. Just kidding.
No, I think my best roommate was the one that he was around, but we always made sure to keep things cordial. Mm-hmm. We always kept our stuff separated, but we always had that trust of, hey, if you needed to move something, it was for a good reason.
Yeah.
And it was back at my freshman year. His name was Keelan.
Okay.
By no means was he around, and we always had good, friendly ties. Just we never got anything close. And I think for someone to start off with that, I think is a really good example of a good roommate. Mm-hmm. So I know one of our other friends, he had the short straw in terms of roommates.
Yeah.
I think you know which one I'm talking about. He was his freshman year. He was living right next door to me.
Wasn't his roommate like in a fraternity or something?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
This man was in a fraternity and always kept his side of the room messy. To the point where we would see things move in that room.
Wow, that's disturbing.
Yeah, it would just start moving. We knew it was some sort of insect, we just didn't know how big it was. Uh-huh. And for the most part, didn't smell, but I think more so because of our friend. He didn't want it to smell because obviously he still lived there. Mm-hmm. But he would come over often and we would just hang out there. Mm-hmm. I know back then since my room was in the middle, I always had my room open, and since my roommate wasn't there, he didn't mind. I would always watch over his stuff, make sure nothing was taken by any means. Just we were very, honestly, respectful with our stuff. Mm-hmm. And because of that, he was like, yeah, it's fine if you have people over. And I think that's how I got really close with our friend. It's because we had these random moments. And more specifically, there was this one weekend where, if y'all don't know how it's like living at the dorms, most weekends, a lot of the residents will go home to see their family. I didn't go home to see my family on those weekends. And neither did our friend. Yeah. And we would have just random adventures there. And there was this one night where we were just incredibly bored that we set up a little bowling alley in our hallway. We had used plastic balls as the bowling pin, and I think it was a plastic bowling ball itself or a rubber ball. Mm-hmm. And we had just played around with bowling there. We kept track. Clearly I won, but that's beside the point.
That's the one challenge you could beat.
That's the one challenge.
It's because you weren't playing against Hector. This is the way we are, you guys.
Like, well, man, like we can make another challenge. That's no issue with me.
I'm getting through that book right now. How's your book going? That's what I thought.
I think it's pretty obvious whenever I concede defeat is I'll just kind of stay quiet and have that small little gap there.
Yeah. Elias, how was your first experience? Or unless this wasn't your first experience, but how was your experience being on the podcast today?
It was rather enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the viewers might have recognized that I was nervous in the first half, but
you got used to it.
It's something that you definitely warm yourself up to.
You just got to forget the mic is there and just have the discussion.
I think in my case, it was the exact opposite.
How so?
I knew the mic was there, and I think you've noticed that I would just kind of stare at the mic.
Uh-huh.
But at that point, I wasn't seeing the mic as this thing where it's going to echo into the far reaches of the void and random people are going to be heard. I just kind of thought of it as like an old friend.
Mm-hmm.
It was strange halfway through that it wasn't someone that you've necessarily fond of. It was just someone that I haven't seen in a long time. It's like, no, let's catch up with you and the stories that you had since the last time we met.
Yeah, this is really cool too. Like I was telling you, I'm planning on getting some more mics. We want to have even a bigger thing. We could have two other people, some other savages.
Oh yes, this is something that with those other savages I've been talking about for a good while.
I actually haven't told you. You can ask Edward this too.
Uh-huh.
But when Al and I were thinking of, down the line having co-hosts or other guests on the show. And of course this happened sooner because Al isn't here. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have an episode solo again. That was a weird experience. But you're one of the first people that came to mind. You're the very first person that came to my mind. I was like, I got to have Elias on my show. Because I think you and me just vibe so well in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think before we started recording the podcast, and I had asked you, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And you said, no, let's just have one of our discussions. And that's what we do when we're in your car, going to the grocery store. It feels like we're having a podcast. It's like, this is how our conversations are.
For the most part.
It's really cool.
Granted, it's a lot shorter than what I'm used to, but
yeah,
it's generally the same pace and feel for most things.
And when I told Elias, let's just talk for about 40 minutes or something, and Elias was like, 40 minutes. I think when you think about it, we're going to be capping off in a bit. We're at an hour and 13 minutes.
Really?
Didn't feel like it, did it?
No. I mean, it felt like 30 minutes if anything, but not an hour and 13 there.
Yeah, but Elias, you were a really good guest.
Thank you.
You will definitely be on the show again. Unless you move up and you get famous and you find your own podcast.
Well, it was an honor being your first guest there, Hector.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience before you leave? Do you have a favorite quote or anything you want to share? Word of advice for people, a joke, anything.
My name is Papa Bear.
Papa Bear. And with that, this is Savages Unscripted, and we hope you guys have a great weekend or week.